Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Roberts, last week
Thank you.
you came to my office to talk about the potential merger. I told you that I was worried that the merger would hurt consumers, but you assured me that the FCC has regulations called program carriage rules. These aren't the access rules. These are the program carriage rules that protect consumers. You said that those rules will make sure that you always have a wide variety of programs because they forbid you from discriminating against other companies' programs. Now, I have here Comcast's argument from NFL Enterprises versus Comcast, a 2008 case in front of the FCC where Comcast argued that the Commission simply is not equipped or constitutionally empowered to make an independent assessment of the myriad complex and dynamic considerations that affect carriage, tiering, and pricing decisions. Thus, the First Amendment requires that the Commission exercise extreme caution before interfering with any carriage decision. So, in 2008, Comcast argued that the First Amendment precluded the FCC from enforcing its program carriage rules. In other words, looking to get approval for this merger, you sat there in my office and told me to my face that these rules would protect consumers. But your lawyers had just finished arguing in front of the Commission that it would be unconstitutional to apply these rules. Then, to add insult to injury, I asked you, right after you made this assertion, in your office, whether you were aware that your company had litigated this, and you said, I don't know. And so I said, why don't we ask one of your lawyers? Because you had a number of lawyers there. And we turned to your lawyer, and your lawyer said, yeah, we did that. We did this. And then, you, in your written testimony, which this is over a week ago that you came to my office, in your written testimony, you again assert the same thing twice. Moreover, the FCC's rules governing program access, program carriage, and retransmission consent provide further safeguard for consumers. That's on page 4. And then on page 7, you do it again. Now, that was your written testimony that was submitted today. I noticed that today you added something about voluntarily being subject to the rules, because you probably read Mr. Schwartzman and Mr. Cooper's testimony, which called you on this. But I've been through this FinCEN thing. Now, you came into my office, in the United States Senate, representing the people of Minnesota, people who buy cable, whose cable bills have gone up 3 times since 1995. And my job is to protect the interests of the people of Minnesota. Now, how are they to trust you when you come in and to my face say something that either you know wasn't true or you didn't know, and I don't know which is worse? How are the people of Minnesota supposed to trust you?
Senator, first of all, our company has been doing business for a long time, and I think our reputation has...
Your reputation...
if I may, our reputation and our practices, I think, have been at the top of our industry, our innovation, and what we've achieved. When we met, perhaps I was confused. I thought we were talking about program access. Now you're talking about program carriage. I think in both cases...
Your lawyer confirmed to me that they had litigated that, and you know that. You were in the room when your lawyer confirmed that, did he not?
We're talking program access. You're talking program carriage. I don't think that's litigating the program carriage. And the NFL brought an arbitration or a program carriage question.
Okay,
And
whether it was program access or program carriage, did you not say that this rule protects the people of Minnesota? And then did I not ask your lawyer, aren't you saying that it's unconstitutional in court? And then you said you didn't know that, and then you write in your testimony, your written testimony for today, that these rules protect us.
because our intentions, as I told you from the beginning, were not to change the way we've behaved the last 20
Look,
years.
I think
And
Minnesotans have their answers. Thank you very much. Let me go to Mr. Zucker. Look, we're friends. And I worked for a number of years with your wife, Karen, who's lovely, at Saturday Night Live, and she's a lot of fun and a great woman. And I love my time at NBC, and I want you to know that. But as I said in my opening statement, I remember what happened in FinCEN. And I think my characterization is pretty accurate, don't you?
It's a long time ago, and I think there's a lot of factors that went into what happened back then. But
come on.
well,
I mean, come on. You guys said, we're in the business of ratings. Why would we favor our own programming?
Well,
and it was 2 years later that you guys were saying to your stockholders that we're going to own most of our own programming. And you know that. And you know that to get program on your network that you often, very, very often say, well, we want to be partners in this.
I can tell you about what's happening today, and I think that that's probably most relevant here. And the most relevant fact of that is that NBC has just ordered 20 pilots for new shows next year. As you well know, NBC needs some better shows. So we've ordered 20 new potential
I think
programs.
What you did was put an NBC produced show on at 10 o'clock for 5 nights a week is what I think you did. But I'm saying, since the promises of FinCEN weren't kept, what conditions would you have the government put on you to make sure that what happened in FinCEN doesn't happen again?
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree that the promises of FinCEN weren't kept. I think that it's a very complicated.
Can I ask Mr. Cooper then about that?
Well, am I able to answer the question?
No, because I want to ask Mr. Cooper that, and then you can answer the question. How's that?
If you go back in the record, you will find the same kinds of promises about how there'd be all this independent programming. And if you look at the quality of independent programming that was put on the air during FinCEN, it was magnificent, and I will submit a report I did for the Independent Film and Television.
Well, let's just speak to the.
So the simple fact of the matter is that they said they would use independence. They drove them off the air, and that's when the quality of programming began to decline.
Okay, so what?
So what I would say is,
what restrictions would you have?
So let me make 2 points.
Conditions.
Let me make 2 points, which is that if you look at the pilots that we just have ordered for next year, we've ordered 18 pilots. 7 of those 18 have nothing to do with NBC or NBC Universal, completely non-affiliated, meaning 39%, so 40% of all the programs that we are trying to put on the air for next year have no affiliation. We have no financial interest whatsoever in those programs.
So you have 60. You have an interest in 60%.
Well, I would argue that 40% non-affiliated is a substantial number, and the fact is the burden and the risk of the financial burden that's required today for us to take on 60% is still quite high.
Well, we're way over time, and I'm sorry. I wanted to get to what conditions you thought we could put on if this thing went through to make this work, and then I wanted to ask the others what they thought of that.